Well, running through South America was an experience. It took us almost, one thing I definitely remember is, you know the Amazon River is such a large river. It took us almost an hour to fly across the delta that was emptying into the Atlantic Ocean. So it's an immense area. And we stopped, I guess it was Belém, Brazil, and Natal, Brazil, and I can't remember which was first or second. And from there we went over to Ascension Island. Now that was kind of scary. This little island, and just a volcano tip is what it amounts to. And the odd part of it was, after we landed, we were taxiing back to the hangar area, and we had a taxi uphill because of the terrain that was there. They couldn't level it off. And so then from Ascension went over to West Africa. I don't remember the names of Liberia, I guess it was somewhere in there. And finally we got up to Marrakesh. We flew off from Marrakesh up to England from there. From England we landed at one airfield, Langer I guess it was. And then we went down to Murrayfield in southwest England. That was our base for the time until we moved to France after the area was liberated. Oh, the base was pretty nice. It was an old RAF base, and our bunks were in Quonset huts. I don't know whether you know what a Quonset hut. It was a half-round building of corrugated steel. They were reasonably comfortable, like heaters in there, heated stoves, and we were doing a lot of training for the initial invasion of Europe at that time. Busy, you know, we weren't sitting around doing nothing. While we were quarantined, we knew it was going to happen. We were quarantined. Nobody was left off the base. The paratroopers arrived at the base, and they were quarantined in a certain area, and then we were quarantined in our own areas. Eventually, we got together, and at first it was supposed to be one date, and then it had to be moved back because of weather, as I recall. So we loaded up our on D. Actually, we took off at midnight on D minus, I guess you'd call it D minus 6 hours, so that we dropped our troopers over Cherbourg Peninsula. Carentan is the town that we dropped ours at, and that was probably just about midnight. It was kind of a funny, unusual thing that we smelled all this flak that was bursting around, and shells going by, and didn't get damaged at all. I think we had a couple bullet holes in the plane, but we had this odor, and we thought it was gas. And everybody started putting their gas masks on. It was kind of stupid, but what good it would have done at that time, I don't know. But we dropped our troopers, and one of our planes was shot down. They were rescued by the French resistance, and they got back to our group within 2 weeks, I think it was. So that was the only real casualty we had for a D-Day affair. It was scary, to say the least. It was scary, but we were back in the tail end of the ship, and the troopers were all lined up in 2 rows. They were sitting on each side, so they do a U-turn to go out the door, and the jump master was at the door, and actually they were all pushing one another out the door, and as they jumped, they they had static lines that you hooked up to a cable that running down the ceiling of the aircraft. And so when all the troopers were out, the crew chief and I were pulled in the static lines so they wouldn't entangle with the tail surfaces. But and then we just flew back to our base and without any other incident. It was our first experience of combat, and you can imagine anybody greenhorns, just coming from the States practically, and never had experience of being shot at before. And you see all these bursting shells around you. This is dark, we were at midnight, so any time a anti-aircraft missile would go off, you'd see the flash of the orange fire, and wondering if you were safe. We wore what they call flak vests, which was I guess much similar to what the police wear today, but not as sophisticated. It was a vest that you put on front and back, and it was rather heavy. On D+1, we were flying in towed-in gliders to land in France. Shortly, I'd say within a couple of weeks, they had cleared airfields that we could land and bring supplies in. Haul back wounded. We could convert the C-47 to carry 369, about 12 patients, I guess, in litters, strung from the ceiling. So it was a continuous run back and forth with supplies and bring back wounded to the hospitals and things of that sort. Well, what we could see when on D+1, the amount of ships that were in the channel and up against French coast was enormous. It was always looked like you could almost step on one ship to the next. There were so many watercraft below us. We didn't really know what was happening. Things weren't passed down to the common people, as it were, that quickly. But we could see just the fact that we could land now in France, so there's making some progress, and just what else was happening we weren't too sure of. Within the next week or so we could do it. We just towed gliders in D+1 after jumping the troopers on D-6 hours.